Internet! Welcome to Two and a Half Brains. This is our weekly discussion about the amazing race. We're talking about episode 5 of season 32. And I'm your host. You can find me on Twitter, Yo Grabba Gabba. The woman laughing at me in the background is my co-host, Jessica. And she can join us because she's laughing anyways. And how do you find Jessica on Twitter, folks?
Just T820.
Yep, and I'm Pat, and I'm at Yo Grabba Gabba.
I was going to just start yelling, my ears, when you did it in the beginning, but I decided just to laugh in the background.
Okay. You can follow this amazing banter. You can subscribe to this show so you get all the updates, so you don't miss any of this stuff that we're doing. We all know you love it. You can email the show at paidmoreproductions@gmail.com. Jessica, you're a pain in the arse. In the arse, I tell you. Oh! Don't poke me in the ribs. My ribs are very sensitive. Now the internet knows that.
Oh no, someone's going to find you on the internet.
Yes. And, so... Yo Grabba Gabba.
Yeah, Paper Productions.
PaperProductions@gmail.com. You can also like our Facebook page, facebook.com/PaperProductions as well. We'll get the latest episode of The Amazing Race out soon. With episode 5, we're recording this on a Thursday, so episode 6 just aired. We haven't had a chance to watch it yet. We're just getting caught up with our shows, but we'll get that out soon. We'll probably do some other stuff as well in the next little bit with other shows and other content. Now that we're probably going to be in our houses forever again. So, until that point, we'll just keep doing our thing. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So, let's go ahead and talk about this episode, Jessica.
Okay.
What happened?
They went from Paraguay to Paris.
So
not Portugal, as I said last time.
It's still a P. It makes sense. It's a P and it's somewhere.
Different location, but...
It's a P in the world.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
It was a good episode. There was an elimination this week, unlike last week. You know, like in every single week, you don't know who's coming out first, who's coming out second, because now the mistakes are based on just the players themselves. It's not roadblocks. Most of it is getting lost, not being aware of where they are, and, you know, they're standing in their own way. But it's a good episode.
Yep, and we'll get to all that here shortly. And another thing, too, to understand is, as it gets thinner, the teams who are, the really good teams, they could make mistakes before and still survive because there's enough bad teams left. When there's no bad teams left, you can't make a mistake because you won't overcome that.
Can't get lost.
Can't do can't take 6 hours to do a challenge when everybody else taking 3.
Right.
But so that was from Paris to Paraguay, or Paraguay to Paris, I should say. Paraguay to Paris.
You even got the names and he still effed it up.
Yeah. Paraguay to Paris, and this episode took place in Paris, France.
Yes.
And what was the first roadblock?
First roadblock was living art. So they had to go into the art gallery, study the paintings, and then find a person that was dressed up exactly as a person that was found in the painting. I mean, vice versa, find the person, then find the painting. Either way, you had to find the painting, remember the name of the artist, find the person, go out to the curator, and give them the person and the name of the artist.
Yeah, show them the person and the name of the artist. Yeah, and there was there's 9 people who were dressed like the paintings. There was 100 paintings.
Yeah.
9 people dressed like the paintings and 30 people in the room. So you didn't know who was and who wasn't. They're all kind of dressed in kind of similar time period.
Right.
So it was a little bit difficult, but it
was kind of difficult. I feel like in some sort of challenge like this, you're gonna have portraits that are definitely gonna stick out to you. So concentrate on the people where you can actually see their face, their clothes, and then go look for that person. Some people were looking at portraits with people that were so small in the portrait. Well, not portrait, but paintings. They were in an entire painting and there was just one person in there. It's kind of hard to do that when you're focusing on something that has such a broad background.
Yeah, and then some of them were dressed similar, so I get that confusion. But
yeah,
the one they found was a painting of Jesus, and the one guy looked clearly like Jesus. I was like, well, there you go. I mean, that's or the one that was just a person in a picture and nothing else.
The guy with the beard, the guy with the white collar. Yeah. Obviously things like that because you can see them right away. It's some of them, at least one for me, when they brought him out, I'm like, no way, that's it. And they said that it was. So some, were a little tricky because they can't match completely what the painting shows. But It was good. I don't think it should have been that difficult for people.
No, it seemed like it was relatively straightforward. And so if you kind of had the right strategy, looking for the nuances in the people's clothing, you could kind of match that pretty easily.
As I told you last week too, people are going to surprise you. So like
Gary.
Gary's
there you go. Tell me about that.
being into art and everything. He's got art at home. He loves going to museums. D'Angelo had no idea about this and laughed at him. I'm like, see, you have no idea what kind of skills these people have that they're not showing.
And I kind of figured it would be D'Angelo who'd be like that, not Gary.
Yeah.
But and it was funny because Gary's talking in the confessional, and they're showing D'Angelo, and D'Angelo's like, "Rrr!"
Yeah, his face was funny.
It was quite funny.
It
was really funny. Yeah, it was neat. So who did really well? Most teams did pretty well. Who didn't get lost? Harna did really bad.
Was it like 15 tries?
Something like that. Yeah, she
Bad.
had a lot of swings and
struggle.
misses for sure.
I think Alana also had a bit of a difficult time. She at least brought out 4. Like
3 or 4. Yeah, it was like 4. Or something
wasn't
like
immediate. I mean, there was a couple of teams that brought out a person they were done.
Yeah.
Like Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
She,
Yeah. Yep. So for sure, the teams who are really great did really great. Teams who are not as great didn't do as great. Pretty much par for the course.
Yeah. Will and James too. They didn't do that great at it. I think he brought out a couple people as well.
Some of them did 3 or 4, and that was it seemed like a lot. And then Aparna did like 17. I was like, what the heck?
So it didn't seem as bad. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But a couple of you did on the first try, so that was cool. What was next?
You have written down pie whips where they had to go lame. They had to go to, I don't even know what you want to call it, just like a French bakery. For a person that specialized in whipped cream pies, basically, and they had to whip cream by hand. That is difficult. I know you've never done it before. I have attempted to do it myself, and then I gave up because my arm was burning. It is so hard to do. It is very time consuming. It takes a lot of your muscles.
You do 2 each, right?
2 each, yeah. So I mean, they basically got a whole pint of milk or heavy cream, and had to whip it, and then fill up 2 pie pans, take it to the tent to deliver it, where they got a pie in the face.
Oh, they got blasted.
Yeah, it was great.
As soon as they walked into the tent, they were just getting drilled by like 8 people with pies.
It yells the same thing. Don't drop it. Don't drop the pie.
I really want to see somebody drop it. That would have been amazing.
That would have sucked. I don't know how
awesome.
you wouldn't have any muscle left any energy to whip that again.
That would have been great.
It sucks.
That would have been great.
But
But
they sat there telling you that a lot that night.
yeah, oh yeah.
It sucks. You got to have a certain rhythm and a certain form, and the guy watching them, I think, was just like,
These clowns.
These Americans.
Yeah, and then the funny thing was too, I mean, I think once the first team that went through, I think it was the volleyball guys, they told their rest of the Lions, hey, they're going to throw pies, so you should be careful, which...
It was only one other team, though, that was there.
It was only... Yeah. So it was one of those things where you kind of didn't really need to know that, because what difference is it really going to make ultimately, but...
Yeah, just knowing don't drop it.
Yeah. For sure.
And
don't get scared and drop it over.
Yeah, and people couldn't see because they were knocking the chef's hat over their eyes. So.
Yeah, sure. True story. Yeah, and so as soon as they got in the tent, you couldn't see anything until you got in the tent. You couldn't get attention. Yeah. It was neat though. It was a cool challenge. I realized that I couldn't just drill the pies after that. That was really cool.
Yeah.
They don't do that often. They're a lot more serious and they don't have that much fun. And sometimes the fun is needed.
Yeah.
What's next?
The next one is Carnival Games. So now looking at all this stuff, I feel like this has been my favorite episode of
for sure.
most even seasons that I've watched before, because the living art thing was really cool, the pie thing was awesome, and the Carnival Games it's fun. It wasn't like it was simple for me. I wouldn't have done well in all of those, but they had the horse race where you had to toss the ball, land it into the different colored holes, and each color makes it go faster, slower, it just doesn't move. Another one was ball in the mouth of a person.
The ball in the mouth, yeah.
And then, gosh, what was the other one?
Oh man.
It was holy cow. It wasn't a cow.
No, it wasn't a cow.
Nor holy. So it was the ball. It was the horse race, and it was. The only one that I'd actually probably be... Oh, no, I couldn't do it either. It was the knocking down of the cans.
Oh, yeah, knocking the cans off with the ball.
I mean, they didn't make them actually knock them off the pedestal. They just had to be knocked over.
Yeah.
Which technically at the carnivals, you have to knock it fully off, and it's annoying.
But this is cool, too, because there's some episodes they do 2 roadblocks. Like this one was. They did no detour. 2 roadblocks.
1 yield.
Which wasn't used by anybody. And then, of course, there was the speed bump that Keelan and Haley had to do.
Yeah.
Which we can talk about in a second. But
yeah.
When they do 2 roadblocks, each person has to do it. So if one person's really strong and they're carrying everybody, well, if there's one roadblock, the other person has to do the other one. So it doesn't matter if they're good at it or not, they have to do it.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so the one person had to do the 1 roadblock, and that's like, this is really up my alley. Yeah. Well, the other might be even more up their alley, but it's too late because now the other person has to do it. So that's why they throw that in once in a while to really shake things up.
Shockingly for the football guys, it settled how it was supposed to.
Indeed. Yeah, no, perfect. D'Angelo was throwing it, and Gary was doing the art stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's exactly what I would have guessed. That's exactly what I would have thought. What do you think? What are you talking about? That was cool. Let's talk real quick about the speed bump for Keely and Hayden.
Oh, speed bump. The speed bumps to me, it's always tedious stuff. It's always cleaning or doing something weird, but all they had to do was clean the saddles for a person's horse. It seemed pretty simple. They got through it pretty quickly, at least from what that it shows, but just had to scrub the saddle and get all the poop and whatnot off of it. Yeah,
it was funny. I think the first ever speed bump they did, so they used to do different things. They used to make them beg for money, take everything they have.
I don't want to do that.
They used to give them a penalty to start. Mm-hmm. Like they'd do something, they'd start way after everybody else or whatever. They've been doing the speed bump to give them an extra challenge. The speed bump, it really isn't. It's basically just a little speed bump. It's not really anything supposed to be that time consuming.
Yeah.
I think the first one they ever did though was the people that sit on a chair of ice for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it sounds painful.
Yeah, but ultimately, instead of 10 minutes, you get rid of. And you're able to move on. It's not like you have to do anything actual challenge-wise.
Right, yeah.
But
it's just something to slow them down.
Yep, that's it. It's also sweet. Just a little speed bump. Little hump. Anything else about the roadblocks? Both are really neat. Especially the second carnival one.
Well, yeah, the carnival games were awesome. It was interesting because most people did pretty well with all of them. I don't think anybody struggled too bad. It just was the whole finding the place.
Yeah, finding the place. And then also, there was a couple times, I think somebody had do 7 tries, but it got a couple times where there was multiple teams there, so they're actually competing against each other, and then the other people were also at the carnival.
This episode, like last episode, yet again, we had people saying stupid things to relate to them, like, oh, Leo played baseball in middle school, so he should be great at this. Listen, that was middle school. You're like 30-something now, I'm assuming. I don't know.
At least mid-20s, at least.
Yeah, that was middle school.
And throwing a ball through a big mouth is nothing you do in baseball. I'm not sure if you know.
You don't even throw it like you would in baseball because you would bounce it right off of there. Like, you need to aim. It's more like darts.
It's way more like darts.
Yeah, so that I can't deal with those comments. Like, I guess, like, you're supposed to try to make yourself look talented, and
he said he didn't do great at throwing. He did great at other things, which I don't know what the things are, but maybe standing in the field catching flies.
Oh yeah, I know. That's true.
But so I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But the challenges were cool. I liked them. I thought both roadblocks were very interesting. Once they got the 3, they had to win each of the 3 carnival games.
Get a stand.
They got punch. Yep. Then they had to go to the shooting range and shoot the door open so you could get their clue.
Yeah, that was cool.
And it was obviously not real shooting, but it was the shoot the target game at the carnival. Mm-hmm. Cool. I thought it was a fun challenge. I thought it was a fun season. Fun episode. And the season's been fine. There's been some good and some bad, but overall, it was one of the best episodes of the season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this one was definitely easier than last week too, because I feel like they were kind of going easy on them with the whole watermelon and bottle thing. They have to kind of even out, going from something almost impossible to something slightly easier, more fun. Yeah,
more fun. And I think that's the big thing too. The carnival games, even if you're not good at it, at least it's fun.
Yeah.
It goes back to the fun element. Because to quote the great Rachel Riley, the Amazing Race is supposed to be fun and good.
Oh my god.
If it's not fun and good, then there's no point in doing it, because the Amazing Race is supposed to be fun and good. Anyways.
Alright, I'm out of here.
Okay, I can get out for the night. So let's go ahead and talk about ultimately how the episode ended up, and we'll talk about why the team who lost.
said earlier, they're getting in their own ways, and
So the first was all their self-driving episode of
it
this
was,
season.
yeah, and they got lost with their taxis, but you know, in the beginning of the episode, you'd expect Will and James to just be busted because they couldn't drive the car.
Couldn't drive stick.
Couldn't drive stick. Was putting in the wrong gear. Eventually figured it out, but the team that went out today was Michelle and Victoria.
That's surprising.
It was. They're pretty good, but emotions got in the way for sure. Michelle got too angry, and then Victoria wasn't directing, wasn't finding out where to go. But to be fair, if I was getting yelled at and I knew someone was getting frustrated, I would shut down too and not be able to concentrate. You can't concentrate when someone's yelling at you. And if you're the driver, you got to stay calm and just be like, okay, look at the map. We're here. Like, say what street you can see or wherever you can see. But ultimately, they got knocked out because just timing was late to everything. And then once they finally caught up, it was way too late.
Yeah, I mean, they drove way past the place they're supposed to go, and they drove way past the other way. And it's like, okay, if you're driving on a throughway, a highway in the middle of nowhere, and you go an exit too far, you can turn around, you miss 10 minutes. If you're driving through Paris,
Yeah.
and you miss a turn, it's going to be an hour and a half until you can turn around and go back the other way, because the traffic is going to be so brutal.
And I mean, you're not going to know where the heck you're going as it is. So, to me, I feel like the best course of action, if you know you're going to get lost, is to look at the map first, map it out, and then go. Like, everybody jumps in the car and just goes, but if you don't know where you're going, you're going to get lost anyway. So why not take a couple minutes to be like, okay, so you need to go here, and then we're good.
And a lot of times the teams, they try to look up they try to get a hold of somebody,
Yeah.
or a travel agent or somebody. Say, hey, we're trying to go. Can you give us a good tour, a good map or whatever? And obviously they know where they're going, so you can't be like, oh, I'm going here. Show me how to get there. But at the same time, somebody maybe who can point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
For sure.
Stop right away and ask for directions and then go.
Yeah, it started off kind of crazy too, because I said that there's four teams on one flight, 4 teams on the second flight, about 15 minutes difference, and James and Will couldn't figure out how to do it, and they're the first one out, or they're the second one out.
Yeah.
The volleyball guys were out first, and then the other two teams, Michelle and Leo and them, were blocked by Will and James because they couldn't get out of the exit.
Yeah, they couldn't get up the ramp to get out. They kept stalling, and he couldn't figure it out.
And so actually, Leo got in their car, drove them up the ramp, and then off to the side so everybody else could go by them. And then it was really awkward because they hate each other.
Yep, and then when he saw them show up to the living art, he's like, "Oh, how did you get here? Didn't think you were gonna make it." But
he's like, "Yeah, well, I was putting in third, trying to get out of there." And that's one thing. If you're not, less than everybody. If you're going to go on the Amazing Race, learn how to drive stick. You have to. You have to. There's no other way to.
You're traveling in other countries, so
you have to.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to drive standard. So, but so that was a struggle. The self-driving was a struggle. And ultimately, I think I agree. I think Victoria was just kind of shut down and not really, helping anymore. Michelle was getting on her case, and ultimately, the one thing that probably there's two big mistakes that teams make on Amazing Race that cost them the game. One is not reading the clue, and 2 is not communicating.
Yeah.
And that's the two. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Now the hung and cheat part of it, they've been saying that they have had issues communicating in the past. That's either going to be the obstacle they overcome to win, or it's going to be why they lose. That's it.
I really haven't been doing that bad,
Not at all.
So I don't notice lack of communication.
Not at all. I mean, very, very low.
Yeah.
I mean, the watermelon thing a little bit, but other than that, they've been just spot on.
Yeah.
Which is, it's interesting. But, I mean, yes, Michelle's driving. Victoria, instead of saying, oh, I think you have to make like up here, make it right here, she's saying, I don't know where we're going. And then Michelle's, instead of saying, oh, we're passing this, you find that on the map.
Yeah.
You're just saying, well, what do you mean we don't know where we're going, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they're just arguing instead of having a solution.
Yeah, that's what I said. Definitely just start saying, like, okay, I see this. Like, this is what I see. Look it up.
Yeah. And that's it. I think we were talking about them last week. They were doing really well in the challenges, but we felt like they weren't going to win because they just didn't have good communication.
Yeah.
They just seemed like they're kind of
even though surprisingly they said they got closer because of this and are now best friends.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I guess we don't see.
A lot of things we don't see.
So.
Or no. Yeah.
Anyways, so that I think is, but I think ultimately lack of communication is ultimately why a lot of teams lose, and that's I think what did in Michelle and Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
Mish and Vic instead of Nick and Vic.
Sure.
Or Mish and Tori. Either way. So that's why they lost. Let's move on to what you're all here for, and that is the updated power rankings. This one was shaken up quite a bit, actually, from last time. There were some teams who did way better than I thought they would do, and they really bumped up power rankings. Some teams who did way worse than I thought they were going to do. They bumped down the power rankings. Ultimately, I think that there's kind of still some teams that are way out in front in this, but I think you'll be a little bit surprised. Won't be surprised with the first one, though. Who's number 7 on the power rankings?
Kaylin and Haley.
Yeah, Kaylin and Haley. They were way late again. They were like hours and hours and hours and hours after everybody else again. And they got there again like, oh, we know, Phil. Just tell us. We know.
Yeah.
And what did Phil say?
Year 7.
Your team member said, like, what? Yeah. Second week in a row,
they haven't seen anybody in hours.
Yeah, and they hadn't. But one team was driving aimlessly for like they said that really said the time the car was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that
in
hurts.
6 hours, you can't stop and find where you are on a map and find your location.
You can't ask for directions. I mean, and granted,
they did ask for directions, and they were still not sure where they were going.
Well, sure.
So it was up there to the left, and it's because what they were looking for wasn't exactly what it looked like.
Sure.
Names are super deceiving.
Well,
what places are called.
In other languages, especially too. And in their defense, a little bit, they're in the car for 6 hours, but if you're driving through 6 blocks in New York City, you're going to be in the car for 6 hours. So, and that's kind of how Paris is too.
France too, but I mean the whole orchestra thing though, that's deceiving. They were looking for an orchestra in Paraguay, and it was just a pile of garbage.
Right.
So stuff like that is deceiving. You're looking for something that it isn't.
You've got to memorize the name of the street, and then you've got to find the name. Yeah. And that's the thing. You can't be like, oh, look, you can't really look for landmarks.
Like a castle or something. I think it was called something castle, and they're looking for a castle. And it was basically like a strip mall, if you want to call it that. It was just a row of buildings.
So you can't you can't look for you can look for some landmarks, but you really ultimately can't. You gotta look for names of streets.
Yeah.
But Kaylin and Haley, again, finished way late, way after everybody else. They're really, really struggling. They had they got to the because I think the first part of the challenge, which helps you when you have a speed bump if it's early. If the first thing you have to do is a speed bump, then you do a speed bump and you can move on.
Yeah.
That's good. Theirs was the first challenge was the speed bump, and so they had the rest of the time to make up the time.
Yeah.
But they still, with that, they got to the speed bump late. They, had a lot of trouble driving the car too. They kept stalling too. They couldn't drive stick either.
Yeah.
And then they got to right, and then they got to like the first challenge that everybody else was at, and everybody else was on like the third challenge.
Yeah.
And then they got to the art thing, and everybody else had been long gone.
Yeah.
So that's why they were in it, but.
They made it to the carnival games before one other team.
Before one other team, that's all they needed to do. They have proven that if you're not, as long as you're not last, you're okay. Or if you're last and it's an elimination, you're okay.
Yeah. Basically, just keep going until you're told that you're out.
Yeah.
Because you never know if someone's lost.
And it has happened. I kind of felt like it was going to happen with Michelle and them this time, where Phil just finds them out on the road and says, by the way, you're done. That has happened before.
Oh, I think that happened last season when we watched.
Might have.
Or one of the seasons that we watched. They went and found them and they're like, yeah, it's done. It's too late.
They all checked in like 6 hours ago.
Yeah.
But either way, so that's Kaylin and Haley. Not impressing anybody. And I said that last week I'd be surprised if they survived 2 more weeks. They did survive 1. So we'll see if they can dodge one more bullet. Maybe they'll all end up in the same plane again, or the same, same starting point again, and then we'll see what happens. But they're the weakest team left, no doubt.
Yeah.
They do communicate well, which is good.
Yeah, they don't seem to get angry or emotions get high or anything.
They work together, live together. They, all that. But
yeah.
So
still,
they're the weakest team left, and if they're way behind everybody else, unless they get caught up. It's still going to be quite a struggle for them to survive one like. Crazy things happen all the time.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Nope.
What's number 6?
Ashmar and Aparna.
Yeah, so we kind of moved them down a little bit. They really struggled this week.
Yeah, I would have said last week too. Put them lower than what they were.
They've been trending down.
Okay. They do, yeah, they shut down. They're shutting down quick, and Mina took Aparna 16 times
Something like that.
to do the art thing, and they catch up and get back into it, but their communication's lacking, and once they get frustrated, they're just kind of done.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they don't really care that much. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, there's not a lot of emotion behind them. Like, not enough emotion, if any. You have to have some emotion for the game.
For sure. You have to have some passion at least, right?
Yeah.
And they just know, they feel like, oh, this is cool. We're here.
Yeah,
Having fun.
Yeah, brother and sister, yeah. We just said do this together.
Yeah. And it's just like, kind of like, we don't really carry the weight.
Yeah.
And I said, I feel like when some teams are getting stronger, I think they're fading a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No, I think that's about it for them.
And I'm not saying they're done. They have that alliance. They still, I think they're still.
Yeah, and they've gotten help. They could probably get better, but it doesn't feel like they even want to win.
Yeah.
They don't have
agree.
the passion behind wanting to win. So we'll see if that jumps up a little bit more.
We're at 5?
5, Leo and Alana.
Yeah, Leo and Alana jumped up a spot or two here. They had a good week. They're still. I still think they're not really with it that well, I guess. I mean, they're kind of. They're still holding a grudge with the other team.
Yeah.
They're still making emotional decisions. I hope they lose. Okay, well, don't worry about them.
Right.
Like,
what about yourself?
Right. Like you say, I hope they can't drive stick, and that's why they get knocked out. How about you just win?
Right.
Right? Don't worry about them. Worry about you winning. Mm-hmm. That should be your focus. You shouldn't focus. I mean, like, okay, well, if they get knocked out, then you not get knocked out the week after. Is that worth it?
Right.
Just worry about you. Be number 1, finish first place, win the leg, go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I'm at with them. I think that they have they're good. They have plenty of going for them. They're smart, all that, but and of course I had a laugh when Alana said that our history master's degree is really going to help me out here. It's like, I guess finally for the first time in your life, the history master's degree will help you out for the first time in your life. Congratulations, it's on The Amazing Race. So good job, but whatever. What a waste of money that was. Anyways, so moving on.
Number 4, D'Angelo and Gary.
And they jumped up a lot too. I don't think
should have been higher last.
I don't think they're gonna stay this high. I don't think they're gonna stay this high. I think they'll be on 5 or 6 next week.
I'm not sure. I don't know because if they keep surprising us and pulling out certain things, like I said, this week was a lot easier, so it was better to get through, and they picked the right tasks for each other to do, which worked out. But we could see every challenge is different. If it's more strength stuff, but it's always strength and attention to detail. So they just have to start paying attention to detail a little bit more, and they should be okay.
Yeah, if they're learning from their mistakes, they'll be great. Mm-hmm. I feel like they are kind of like that team though. I feel like they're a lot like the Brett and Chris from last season.
Yeah.
I feel like they're a lot like the team who's always does really well, and then something happens and they can't recover because they don't have the communication. They don't have things like that. I mean, I think they're here because they have the strength and they have the physical ability. They
have the intelligence. It's just not the good communication, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think they have the communication. I just think they don't have the need for the money either. I think there's a lot of things that kind of are gonna be like, I mean, some people would walk through hot coals to get to the end. I think they feel like, well, I made my money, I don't really need to do all that.
Yeah.
But of course they're competitive, so they're gonna want to win, and that's good too. I feel like I feel like the problem with them is they could win 3 legs and then finish second to last or last 3 times too. I think they're very high variance, and that's one thing that a little bit worries me. I think they could win the next 2 legs and then be out.
Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of how it goes.
Have any celebrity teams that have played ever donated the money after winning on the show?
I only know one celebrity team who's won on the show.
Gotcha.
And that was wasn't really a celebrity team. It was 2 hockey players. Nobody knew who they were. I did, but nobody else did.
I mean athletes, I guess, people that make a lot of money.
Bates Battaglia and his brother Anthony won.
I don't even know who they are.
He was on the Carolina Hurricanes for a long time.
don't even know who those people are.
But and Anthony was in the minors, but that was around 2013, I think. But so when they won the show. But I mean, there've been like some celebrity teams like who famous people are like the crossover teams, right? Mm-hmm. Like teams who were on like when Rob and Amber played 3 times, whatever it was, when Ethan and Heidi played, or Ethan and Jenna played, that kind of stuff. So.
They played on The Amazing Race.
Yep, they played Ethan's on from Survivor. Played on The Amazing Race with his girlfriend at the time.
Rob and Amber
played twice.
Had no idea.
Yep.
Okay.
So then they neither one won though. Amber and Rob did really really good. They finished I think second.
They're not really celebrities.
Right. So there hasn't really been a major. I mean, probably one of the biggest celebrities was Joey Chestnut last season. One of the biggest celebrities they had. You know what I mean? So it's not like they haven't had like a
national eating contest person.
Like Survivors had bigger names on the show. I mean, they had Jeff Kent. They had Lisa Whelchel. I mean, famous people. Facts of Life. Blair Warner from Facts of Life.
Okay. I don't know their names.
Yeah, but that Jeff Kent, Major League Baseball player. Big name.
Yeah, athlete. I mean, the athletes to me are big names.
John Rocker.
They make a lot of money. So, just curious.
But of course he's broke, so that doesn't count. Anyways, but so it'd be cool to say. I think they're very high variance. That's kind of why I have them here. Anyways.
Moving on. Number 3, Will and James.
Will and James. And they slipped a little bit, but they're still right in it. I mean, I say there's 3 teams who I think are really solid right now, and they're definitely, they won 2 legs. They won, it's funny because Hung and Chu won 2, Will and James won 2, and now another new team that won this week. But Madison and Riley won this week. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, little things are going to screw them up, so they just have to, drive stick and know how to do that, and they should be okay. Pay attention to what they're doing.
I think they have a shot to win. Mm-hmm. I do. I just think that they are kind of too naive.
Yeah.
A little bit too young and definitely too emotional.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that's going to hurt. I think if they play this game in like 5 years from now, like the Beekman boys, when they played against Natalie Anderson from Survivor when her and her sister played the first season, and I think the Afghanimals, I think, were also that season. And it was like, one of these 3 teams is winning because they're whatever. The Beacon boys were barely surviving every season, and they're very similar to these guys. Mm-hmm. But they were 40-something-year-old guys. They owned a farm. They just were whatever. Mm-hmm. And the last leg came up, and they just blew everybody else out of the water and won the whole thing. And even though they hadn't won a leg all season, these guys have won 2 legs. But I think the maturity that the Beekman boys had, where they just kind of they never got high, never got low. They just kind of, hey, we just gotta survive, and then they got to the end and did what they had to do. I know 311. I know. I wanna get high, but you're taking me low.
Yes. Okay. Anyways.
So I think that's kind of what the Beekmans were. They had that the right mindset of trying to. They didn't need to win legs. Mm-hmm. They didn't need to go all out and try to knock other teams out. They just had to survive.
I mean, they already had 2 legs. Why did they have to win more legs?
Indeed.
Seriously.
The best one ever joke like that was when they had the blind date couple, or the random strangers got mixed together, and the one guy was an army vet who lost his leg in the war. Mm-hmm. And he was, I think, Afghanistan, I think he was, or Iraq veteran. And they random strangers got partnered together, and they got to the second. They finished the second leg of the race, and he goes, "Phil, I was really hoping you'd say I won the second leg." It was hilarious. It was one of the best lines in Amazing Race history. Yeah. The guy with one leg says, "Phil, I was really hoping you'd say I won the second leg." And then he had his leg. It was so great. He had his real leg, and he had a prosthetic, and he had a tattoo in the back of his real leg. This is I'm stupid, pointing to the. It was. You would love them. They were amazing. They were amazing. They almost won too. They were great. But anyways, moving on. I can reminisce about some of these great episodes forever, but we'll move on. Could. We'll move on.
Chatty Cathy, shut up.
Exactly.
Number 2.
Who's number 2?
Madison and Riley.
Riley and Madison, yeah. So they could. You want me to put money on it? It's 1 and 1A right now. I could see them or the team we have at number 1 still. they've been right in it. Both these teams have been right there, battling for number one. They haven't really had any real issues. Both are really good, talented, skilled. There's really nothing I see that makes me like, oh, they're going to go out soon.
Yeah.
I see them in the finals for sure.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I mean,
unless
again,
something really wacky happens.
like, you know, a U-turn where their ally turns on them, whatever, a yield.
And it could happen because now that things are getting less teams, someone's going to have to turn somebody to get, ahead.
Oh, certainly. There's 7 teams left and five of them are in an alliance. I mean, something's got to give. And if I'm them, I want Haley and Kaylin along as long as possible.
I think Haley and Kaylin are going to take the opportunity soon to turn someone or yield someone because they keep falling behind. So they're going to have to do something to get ahead of it.
It'd be interesting to see if like one of these teams like, you know what, these guys are going to win it. Let's throw our U-turn and our yield on them, or what? Just shoot all their bullets right at once and see what happens. That's one problem of being in the front of the pack for so long is people see that and they want to take you out. So. But unless something like that happens, I don't see anything that makes them not win.
Yeah.
I mean, again, at least get to the final 3 and finish the race. Any other thoughts? All right, so our number one team, I think for 5 weeks in a row.
Hung in cheek, our silent winners.
Yeah, they're not really.
They really don't have a target. Like people see them, and I think they know they're doing well, but they're just so quiet about everything. So. And
I wonder, I mean, I don't know if I bet you they couldn't watch last season. Probably hadn't aired when they were playing, but they remind me so much. They remind me of two. They remind me of 2 teams: Ernie and Cindy from several seasons ago. They're from Chicago. They were a married couple, similar dynamic a little bit, and they won. And then they remind me of Colin and Christy from last year.
You're gonna say that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they remind me of them, but they're a very calm team. I guess they don't really argue too much, and
their parents.
Their parents.
They're a little bit older than everybody else, but they aren't in anybody's face. And I think that's kind of more what I'm looking at.
Kind of doing what they have to do and helping each other out in their alliances and getting helped by their alliance. And people aren't really seeing them as this, like, show off. The people that are showing off are the ones that aren't, like, really at leader of the pack. Like Leo, Alana. Or, I mean, Will and James kind of do a little bit too, but they're also, they can slip once in a while. But the ones that have been consistently good aren't saying a word.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of. I think I was saying that about Christy and Colin last year. Is like they're probably the best team, and nobody's paying attention to them. Nobody, there's the Afghanimals are fighting with each other, and then they got the Tyler and Corey and all them, and they're all whatever, and that's great. But
eventually, Christy and Colin were
but it was kind of almost too late at that point.
Yeah.
I kind of see it with Hung and Cheat. They seem like they're friendly. They're nice. They just stick to themselves. Don't get in anybody's face. They help out as they are needed because they want to keep that alliance going. But they don't seem like they're really in anybody's face or anything like that. They're just kind of under the radar and kind of getting close to the end. I can see them definitely going to the finals as well, and even I could definitely see them winning.
Yeah.
But
I should have picked them.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I definitely should have. But. I wanted to pick James and Will too, just because of knowing of James' work from the past. But and following him on Twitter before he was on Relay TV. But that's it. I think that's kind of where we are now. I could see any of these teams get knocked out, but also there's some teams that are really quite strong, and I see them going pretty far. If we had to pick who from the top 5 or from the 5 lines of 5. Who do you think's got the best shot of winning? Who do you think got the best shot of getting knocked out?
She's the best shot of winning. Aparna and Ashrar knocked out. Are they even in it?
Yeah, there. I think because there's only 2 that are Haley and Kaylin and Leo and Alana.
Yeah.
I think the ones with the best shot of getting knocked out are D'Angelo and Gary. I really do. And they're my winner pick, and they're fun. They're entertaining. I don't.
Yeah, maybe.
But we'll see. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun next week. We'll see how it turns out. It's been a pretty fun season overall. And this episode was definitely the best I think to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other thoughts, Jessica, before we wrap up?
Nope.
How do people find you on Twitter?
JustT820.
Find me on Twitter at YoGrabbaGabba. You can email the show, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/pavementroadproductions. And subscribe so you get all the updates, all the feedback, all the everything we got going on. I really appreciate everybody who's been doing that. Jessica's shaking her head over there as if we shouldn't do that.
He's lying. I'm kidding.
I don't know what you're talking about. But no, we've got a few new subscribers lately, last few weeks. I do appreciate that.
Welcome.
So definitely keep doing that and share it and tell your friends. And even if you see this come across your feed on YouTube, whatever, and you're not big into this show, if you know people who are, pass along. I'm sure they'd love to critique us and laugh at us, and tell us we're stupid. So other than that, appreciate it, everybody. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Bailey's being quiet and behaved. Appreciate that. He's just chilling over there, sleeping, taking a nice good old nap.
Speak for yourself. Stupid. You're stupid.
Until then, till next week, safe travels.